Hey guys, what is up? RedPandaMining here. How you guys all doing? Hope you're all doing really well and have a really great day. In this video, I am going to be reviewing and testing out an 8 GPU RISERLESS motherboard. And specifically, this is a BTC65 version 1.01. And thank you to BTC65.ca for sending me this RISERLESS motherboard. Thanks to them, this is awesome. I can't wait to try this out. And I'm gonna be utilizing 8 graphic cards, all right? So we got 4 RTX 3070 Ti's. These are the EVGA for the Win 3 edition cards. I have 2 RTX 2060s that we're also gonna plug in. And then I have a RX 6700 XT, and then I have a RX 6800 XT, and this is a Sapphire Nitro, and this is an Asus TUF. And then we're gonna utilize a 2000 watt power supply from Mining Cave. Good old Mining Cave, they have just recently sent this to me, so we're gonna be also reviewing this as well, because this has 8 PCIe 6 pins for the risers essentially, or in our case I'm going to be using it into the motherboard, and I'll show you guys which ports I'm going to use here in a second. And then coupled with that, we have 8 different strands, that each strand here has 2 8 pins, and so we should theoretically have enough PCIe cables for 8 GPUs because there's 8 strands. And yeah, this power supply has its own dedicated PCIe for the risers, as it says on the box there. So pretty cool. Thank you, miningcave.com, guys, link down below. Now let me explain what this motherboard has on it. I know you guys are maybe thinking, where's the CPU? Where's the RAM? So real quick, the CPU that is being utilized on this RISERLESS motherboard is a Celeron dual core processor. I believe it is a Celeron 1037U. Okay, very low power, dual core, and then it has 4 gigs of DDR3 and then room for an mSATA SSD. Now this configuration to buy on BTC65.ca is about $340 Canadian according to their website. Alright, so link down below if you guys are interested in this, but I will give you guys my final thoughts near the end, the pros and cons for these types of RISERLESS boards. Alright, so before I plug in the GPUs, I want to plug in the power supply. And yeah, that's the most important thing first. So give me 1 sec. Okay, so I plugged in the 6 pins for the RISERLESS board first. Just looking at what we need to plug in, we need to plug in the 8 of the PCIe 6 pins into the PCIe slotted power ones. Okay, so they're clearly labeled, like in terms of the just how you can see the lines going up to the PCIe slot. So we did the first one for this one, the second one goes into this one here. We skipped these 2, and then the third one goes here, as you guys can see, and then the 4th one is here, and then the 5th one, 6th, 7, and then 8. Okay, now these other ports here, from what I've been reading online, is considered to be for if you are going to be adding more load to the motherboard, such as if you're going to be putting like Delta fans or something. These will require a lot of power because Delta fans use a lot of power. So just be mindful of that. If you are going to be using high power fans, you'll probably have to plug in more PCIe here just to utilize more of the power. Okay, next step is I want to turn it on before we put in the GPUs. I want to see if this will go into Hive OS. So I am actually not sure if this will have Hive OS already. Let me check. Be right back. Okay, so I plugged in the power for the power supply, and later on we will see how much power consumption this whole rig will take with the GPUs in Hive OS. Okay guys, we're going to be using Hive OS, and I actually haven't turned it on yet because I wanted to see if Hive OS was on it, but I realized we are using an ATX power supply, so we will need to jump the 24 pin cable with a little paper clip here. okay, just jumping the 2 pins here. So alternatively, I was gonna use like an HP server PSU with a breakout board to power this RISERLESS motherboard, but I wanted to try this Mining Cave Mining Expert 2000 watt power supply because it's perfect for what we're trying to do today with 8 graphic cards. Anyways, let me turn this on, and I'm just gonna put the camera down, and I'm gonna short the green cable and just any black cable. There's one right beside it, so we're just gonna go into the 4 and 5 like so, and looks like it just turned on. Okay, and it looks like the motherboard also just turned on automatically, and we instantly get reboot and select proper boot device. So that means the mSATA SSD has nothing on it, so that means I need to use one of these like mSATA to USB adapters so that I can image Hive OS on the mSATA SSD, okay? Link down below on Amazon. These are really cheap to buy. This also does M.2 as well, but the mSATA one is right there. Anyways, I'm gonna turn this off and take this out and put Hive OS on the mSATA. Be right back. Okay, I got the mSATA out of the adapter that I just used in Windows, you guys just saw. I added a new Hive OS worker on the web GUI, and I also put the rig config on the mSATA as well, so that we can see it online in Hive OS. Alright, let's turn this thing on, and now I simply need to hit this power button, because since we have the paper clip in there, it should automatically turn on. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, and we should theoretically see it go into Hive OS. Yes, there we go, perfect. Let me see if I can see it online. Give me 1 sec. Forgot to plug in a network cable. There we go. Yes, it worked. You guys can see the CPU here. I got no GPUs obviously. So we verified that it shows up in Hive OS, and that's a good thing. Right now I am also updating the NVIDIA driver to the latest one, just because I'm using the 3070 Ti's on this rig, so we'll see how that goes. Be right back. Alright, we're all good. Hive OS, we acknowledge that we can see the motherboard, processor, everything. Now it's time, let's shut her down. And actually there is a front header here, so you could technically put a power button if you wanted. Otherwise you can short these two and it should turn off. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that turned off real quick. Okay, so I can also turn off the power supply. Alright, so now the next step is to put in the GPUs. So let's try adding the 6700 XT. This thing is literally massive, and I thought I would be worried about the spacing, but I don't think we'll have an issue. Actually, one thing I am kind of worried about is how close the GPUs will be together. I guess that is going to be one caveat into getting RISERLESS motherboards, because the GPUs are going to be essentially really close together. So, but I'm going to talk about the pros and cons after we get this all working and see how it fares. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to push down here, and that is the first GPU into the PCIe slot there. Okay, alright, now we are going to add the second one. I'm going to do the 6800, and I'm doing this with one hand. You know what, guys? Let me just quickly do all 8, and I'll be right back. Okay, there you guys go. So I have all the GPUs into the slots. I haven't plugged in the PCIe power yet because I wanted to show you guys the spacing, okay? So one thing I'm kind of worried about is how the GPUs rest on these kind of RISERLESS motherboards. So I was actually thinking, and I have seen other people out there, they got really intuitive. So they maybe got like a piece of wood to have all the GPUs straight, right? You guys can see how when it rests, it goes down a little bit. Or I've seen people use like aluminum angle and just put it all across and screw it into the bar so that they're all straight, right? So that's something that, you know, people could do. Anyways, let me put in the 8 PCIe strands into the 8 GPUs. Here we go. Okay, all the PCIe is in. Now, moment of truth. I am a little afraid of these For the Win 3s. They're really heavy, and so they are really slanted. I don't know if you guys can tell, but anyways, let's turn this on. Let me just triple check, make sure all these GPUs are in before you turn them on. Also, triple check the cables before you turn on any of the GPUs. That's always best practice when you're building a mining rig, especially. So, okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, smell test. All right, I don't smell any smoke, so we're good. Let's see if it shows up in Hive OS. That's the biggest thing here. Yes, looks like it's booting in Hive OS. Okay, now let me just see if we can see it in the web GUI. Be right back. Man, that looks really cool actually. Okay, let me hit the refresh button here in Hive OS and see if it shows up. Oh my god, here we go. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, well, first time's a charm that we got 8 GPUs showing up in Hive OS. All right, now I don't have any flight sheet or anything, and I'm gonna have to definitely overclock and undervolt every single GPU here. So give me a second here. All right, success. A little bit of elbow grease to get all these miners running. So since I'm using multiple different graphic cards, well, 2 AMDs, 2 2000 series, and then 4 3070 Ti's, I'm using 3 different miners. So I'm using T-Rex miner for the 2060 Supers, I'm using Team Red miner for the 6800 and the 6700 XT, and then I'm using the Mini Z miner for mining Ravencoin for the 3070 Ti's. And then, yeah, I forgot to mention, these are mining Ethereum. So just to show you guys the hash rates here, and let me just refresh, just so I'm not lying to you guys. Actually, you guys can see right here, the mega hash that I'm getting, okay? And each GPU, so this is how I have my flight sheet set, all right? It just started mining, and there are the hash rates here. Here are my overclocks, undervolts, there are my power consumptions. Okay, so my 3070 Ti's are getting about 39 mega hash mining Ravencoin, as you guys can see, and then the 2060 Supers are getting about 41 mega hash, almost 42, mining Ethereum, and then the 6800 61 mega hash, and the 6700 is about 45 mega hash on mining Ethereum. Okay, so there's the settings there. Now let's go see what this rig is doing at the wall. I think that's the most important thing on this 2000 watt power supply from Mining Cave. All right, let's go out here and see what we're getting. Okay, and we are using almost 1700 watts. Okay, this is the only thing plugged in, all right? Then it goes into the PDU, right, as you guys can see, and this is the lone cable going into the 2000 watt power supply, okay? But now to conclude this RISERLESS motherboard, if I think it is good to use or not will definitely depend on what type of application you guys are wanting to run these in, okay? So there are a lot of variables, I would say, and you know, with these kind of RISERLESS motherboards, especially if you are very used to running, you know, this style, like just an ATX board with using risers. One of the good things regarding the RISERLESS boards, actually let's just talk about the pros. What I think is that, you know, you don't have to utilize a separate riser, right? and of course the USB, and of course you don't have to use this PCIe 1 adapter. So with this kind of method, you potentially have more failure rate, but then the other side of it is, you know, if one of these decide to fail, like a riser, it's easily replaceable. The riserless motherboard, if a PCIe slot goes, then it might take down the whole mining rig. So that would suck, alright? I guess that's a con. But going along in terms of pro, it's extremely easy to set up in my opinion, and you know, the CPU is already embedded on the motherboard, the RAM as well, alright? That's an option to buy through bcryptomining.ca, link down below. And yeah, it's easy enough to plug in all the PCIe cables that I showed you guys using the Mining Cave 2000 watt power supply, which I think is awesome. Another pro is density. Okay, so you guys can see how I have 8 graphic cards on this board, right? Nothing else. It's just like this. I don't have a mining frame or anything like that. Like, for example, if we were to go out into my basement here, you know, typically if you have like a 6 GPU mining frame like this with a Veta frame, right, it takes up a decent amount of room. So you're gaining the density factor when you go riserless motherboards. Now let me talk about some cons. I guess the biggest thing that most people will think of is the heat, right? The cards are really close together, and with my 3070 Ti's here, oh man, I can feel a lot of heat coming off of these. But you know, realistically, you can circumvent that by maybe putting like a floor fan or something at it, you know, a bunch of fans or something if you wanted. I know there are fan headers on the motherboard, which then you'll probably have to add a couple of PCIe cables just to have that extra power. But you know, you could probably put like a floor fan or something and point it to the GPUs, and that would probably be fine. And just talking about the spacing, I mean, these For the Win 3s are one of the thickest cards on the market, right? So you can see there is a bit of spacing between the GPUs, enough for the airflow to go through. But you know, to each of their own, depending on what kind of GPUs you're using, what your ambient temperature is, how's your airflow, your heat extraction, wherever you're going to be using these, you know, you have to be mindful of all that depending on if, you know, these riserless boards make sense for you or not, right? So yeah, it just depends on your application with these, that, you know, it may not make sense, or maybe riserless boards will make sense, right? Depending on the density factor. I would say I've seen like riserless motherboards being used in like shelf applications, and then, you know, the wooden boards underneath, and you know, they have a lot of airflow and that kind of aspect. Or of course, if you can find server cases that utilize that riserless motherboard, right? There are server cases that you guys have seen me make videos of. Same idea. There's riserless motherboards in these server cases, and so this one from bcryptomining.ca, I would say you can maybe make your own like wooden enclosure or something to mimic like a server case style, right? And then you'll need to have like delta fans so that you can have fast airflow going through the GPUs, that kind of thing. Okay, another con I wanted to talk about is the CPU. Now, it's a very low power, it's not very fast or anything, so I noticed, since I'm using multiple different GPUs, I have, you know, essentially 3 different miners running on this rig, right? I told you I'm running T-Rex miner, Team Red miner for the AMD cards, and then I'm running Mini Z for the For the Win 3 3070 Ti. So 3 different miners. It took about a good like 2 minutes for all the miners to come up on this rig, which is quite a long time in my opinion. Normally it would come up, you know, maybe in under like 20 seconds at least on like a regular Celeron, Intel Celeron processor, desktop processor. I believe the Celeron 1037U is like a laptop one. But yeah, that's something to be mindful of. Otherwise though, it seems like it's mining. Let me verify now since it's been mining for a while. Okay, I'm gonna hit refresh here. And okay, it looks like we are still good. Let's look at the temperatures. Actually, that's one of the big things. So we are still getting 39 mega hash, almost 40 mega hash on my 3070 Ti's. Okay, my 6800 and 6700 XT is still fine, and the 2060 Supers are mining at the same hash rate. Okay, now the temperatures of the GPUs. Here we go, 69 on the first 3070 Ti, which is not as, I don't really like that. I like to run my GPUs at least under 65 degrees Celsius on the core, but otherwise the other ones seem to be okay. Of course, I'm running at 100% fan speed because, you know, I thought because they're so close together. So, I mean, it looks okay. It's generally fine, and let's just verify at the wall that we're still using, you know, 1700 watts or so. Yeah, 17, oh, looks like we're using a little bit more now, 1734. All right, so I would say we're using definitely a little bit more than the 80% rule on the Mining Cave 2000 watt power supply. Okay, so yeah, that's something to be mindful of, especially, you know, what type of GPUs you're gonna use on this RISERLESS motherboard. You need to make sure you have the power capacity, okay? So this 2000 watt power supply that I got from Mining Cave, you know, I think this is really good. This is really specific because they added the 6-pin PCIe cables for the risers, all right? So I find that to be really cool, and then they have 8 different strands for the power supplies. Now, I don't recommend using this power supply for RTX 3080s or 3090s because each strand here is 18 gauge, and I definitely would use them for under, like, at least 3070 Ti's and under, because yeah, 3080s will probably take 3 8-pins, and the 3090s take obviously 3 8-pins as well, so for PCIe's. So each strand here only comes with 2 8-pins, but they're on one strand, so I would be very wary to use this Mining Expert 2000 watt for 3080s. Unless you only did like maybe 4 3080s or 4 3090s, then, you know, you can do like 2 strands per 3080, so you'll be safe in that aspect in terms of capacity. Okay, just be mindful of, you know, what type of GPUs you're gonna use with these 2000 watt power supplies. Okay guys, I think this video is long enough. I think I explained everything that I wanted. This RISERLESS motherboard is pretty cool. Just to end off, personally, would I use these for mining? Because in my situation, I like to have my rigs, you know, in open air frames and more spread out in terms of just the distance between them, just for the cooling aspect of it. I mean, I could use RISERLESS motherboards in an open air type of situation, but I don't really have the airflow. Sometimes it gets really hot, like in terms of ambient temperature outside, so I'll have to deal with that. I would maybe have to put, you know, floor fans. I explained that all before, but anyways, I like this kind of style better than having RISERLESS motherboards. But if you guys are interested in that kind of way for RISERLESS motherboards for mining, then link down below, guys. Go check out beescryptomining.ca, and they have these in stock, okay? As well as a bunch of other stuff. All right, guys, and thank you to Mining Cave for the 2000 watt power supply. It's really great. Yeah, it seems to work just fine. I'm gonna be using this in another 8 GPU mining rig, all right? They sent me one of their frames. Anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, please let me know. All right, I appreciate you all. Have a good one, and peace out.